Alright, this is gonna be a longer video. I'm gonna try and keep it short and sweet. We're gonna break it down into 3 parts. So, I have a list of patch notes that I'm gonna be going off of just because as I've been playing and testing all the characters, all the builds, I wanted to have some concise things. One problem I'm gonna bring up right away is a lot of the information that I have is not in the patch notes. Which, again, Blizzard, guys, I know you just had your massive round of layoffs. I know it kind of screws us all over because of that. You have got to have your shit in the patch notes, or people get mad. You can call it the holidays if you want. I think there's 3 parts of this patch that you really have to break down. One is quality of life, one is community expectations, and the other one is balance and season. And the first thing I want to harp on is what they got right. What they got right is the quality of life. You want to talk about quality of life? The huge positive quality of life. First off, timers on everything. Every time you open the map, you have a world boss timer in the corner. You have a legion timer in the corner. Thank you for appearing. These timers are crucial because now I can be grinding in the middle of a dungeon, pop a timer, voila, right there. I can see what it is pretty much right away. No real having to, hey, what's the world boss at? Where you have to fucking scroll your map ad and go and check it manually. Huge win, huge gain. Love that. Nice quality of life. Another nice quality of life change is how Distilled Fear drops now. So Distilled Fear was very infrequent with how it would drop. You get one like every other dungeon that you did that qualified. Now, it's every single tier 30 and above nightmare dungeon. You see all of these that I've cranked out, you can crank out Beast in the Ice sigils. Now, this is good because they tied the new uniques to Beast in the Ice, just to get people to farm up Beast in the Ice more because it's a relatively infrequent boss to fight. Very much appreciate that. Very like that. That's the second huge win. Third huge win. Constant Helltide. So Helltides start at the hour now. Okay? It's like 6:35 for me, something like that. Helltides start, let's say it's 6 o'clock. Goes for 55 minutes. And then at the 55-minute mark, it goes down for 5 minutes and then it moves. Now you still lose your cinders from thing to thing. I'm fine with that. We're gonna go to the area. What this does is this dramatically cuts down the material grind and the living steel grind. Because now it's not, oh, I caught it too late for me to really grind and get a chest. I'm not gonna worry about doing Helltide. Now I can drop in and out on Helltide whenever I want to. Whenever I want, I can go do Helltide. Now, there's another huge buff that comes out of this that I'm gonna... The reason why I traveled over here is to go show you. Huge win. You do not need the Helltide website specifically for the purpose of tracking chests anymore. I'm gonna show you why in a sec. Alright. Who wants to unfreeze me? Zoom your map in. Boom! They are now tracked. Chest of Mystery. And then if you look over here, Chest of Living Steel. Now you have to be in the region, so there's 2 that are up here, but it won't show me those. But you now have access to those. So they show you that in-game. Again, huge quality of life change. You've noticed my buttons are the same as before. That's one of the quality of life nerfs that I have to talk about. They rebound your controls on the horse. To be honest, it's really no big deal. Just go to your options, change it on one character. You're good to go. You don't have to worry about that. Health potions outside of boss rooms can now be cursed. And I've gotten this quite a bit. That's a huge win. Living Steel chests. The price on them went down from 300 to 275. That's a win. I don't like the butcher spawn. It feels like to me like butcher spawns got nerfed a little bit. I've only had like 2 butchers with all the grinding I've done, and that's mostly in like chests, mostly in like nightmare dungeons. The item power change is kind of annoying. So what they did essentially, you would go to a world boss to farm 925 gear outside of, like, Duriel. Now they've changed that. So now, Duriel has guaranteed 925 drops. And enemies in Nightmare dungeons that are above a certain tier are guaranteed 925. That's great, because that means that, you know, once you're in endgame proper, you're level 100, and you're grinding the higher tier Nightmare dungeons, all you're getting is 925 gear. That's good. The downside is it's harder to get 925 gear as you're leveling now, because they took it away from World Boss. It's tied to your level. So, like, I'm at 80. I haven't gotten a single 925 gear to drop. Not a single one. So, that's a bit frustrating, but it does make sense because it is a help. It does help you in the end game. That's buff, that's buff, that's buff. Treasure goblins in the Avarice the Gold Curse world boss now have the same drop rates as regular ones. Now, I have not gotten Avarice the Gold Curse in the same since I've been, like, doing my testing on that. Hopefully this one will be. But that's kind of nice, because now there's more incentive for the idiots that do that, like, oh, I'm going to go after the treasure goblin, just to have a blue drop. You have a world boss to kill. Maybe if you know you can, like, one-shot a world boss, which that's quite common still. If you know that, then you can go, okay, what I'll do is I will farm treasure goblins rather than killing the world boss straight away. The nerf to overpower is not as bad as it seems, but I'll talk more on that when we talk on balance. That's fun, that's fun, that's fun, that's fun, that's fun. Resplendent chests to me feel massively nerfed. Like, they've tripled the gold gain out of Resplendent chests, but you get, like, one yellow. You'll get, like, one. If you're lucky, you get 2 pieces of gear. No more blues, which is good. But I've had some chests that are just straight gold. Nothing else. Or gold and a Nightmare Sigil. Or gold and a Veiled Crystal. That feels really nerfed. Very rarely do I get one that drops me a unique or an ancestral yellow. Although it is still possible. The respawn revive mechanic is really annoying. That's part of the reason I'm also over here too, right? If you're in a dungeon, and if you're in a dungeon, like, let's say we're over here, we're doing Duriel, right? You die, you get revived by a teammate. Guess what? No health potions. It really makes dying much more punishing in these fights. But at the same time, I still think it's pretty good. Hello, doggy.
Hello.
I'll pet the doggy. The doggy's right here. Now, that I'm fine with. Let's talk about the meat and potatoes. The season and the balance. So, the number one problem you're going to have right now with the community is the community is screaming, oh my god, terrible season, worst season we've had. But I want to backtrack a little bit and mention something. There's always going to be a meta with these types of games. Also, I like the way they redid, like, the UI change here. Looks kind of neat. So, let's talk about something for a minute here. I'm on the wrong character. I wanted to be on Necromancer when I did this, but I'm trying to push this video out. So, alright. When you had the preseason and season 1, it was kind of shitty. The same team that did this, that did the season for this season, did season 1. Everybody said, oh my god, it's shitty. But at the same time, there were a lot of issues in the game. Ice Shard Sorceress was by far the most powerful version of Sorceress. Barbarian felt weak. Bone Spear Necromancer murdered absolutely everything on the screen. Every single rogue build was viable. Druid had like 2-3 really good builds, like Storm, Tornado Crit. Basically, every build that was out there was apply crit, apply vulnerable, nuke everything on the screen. And you saw that when the season came out. Because part of the problem you had was with the new game, the new event, the new season, okay? Which was Malignant Hearts. You got these pieces of jewelry that they dropped. It was slow, it was time consuming to do the Malignant Heart grind. But what you were trying to do is you were trying to grind Malignant Hearts. They went in your jewelry, and this is before resistances actually mattered. So, you know, what else were you going to put in there? Skulls for armor. So, you had no problem slotting in. It basically gave you extra legendary powers. What's the problem with that, though? Barber Heart. Literally every build in the game was Barber Heart. You got a Barber Heart to drop, you made a build around it. And it broke the game. And, again, you would see that because you'd be at a world boss, somebody would crit, the boss takes no damage, 4 seconds later it's dead. That's not fun. Especially if you're sitting at a world boss. Like, I could go and sit at the world boss. Now, if I sit at a world boss for 45 minutes, let's say I got something to do in the other room. I want to take a shower, make some dinner, maybe eat dinner, come back at the end of the 45 minutes, go to play. World boss dead in 5 seconds. Where's the fun in that for some people? And yes, a lot of people are just doing world boss just for materials, just for favors, just for cash. Fine. I'm not questioning that. Not arguing the logic. That's you. That's you. But at the same time, that's also not the sign of a healthy game. So what happened? Because everybody had a meta that was around Barber Hearts and crits and vulnerable. Big patch. Nerfed everything. Community's in an uproar. But it balanced things out. Season 2 comes out. People love Season 2. They love the vampiric powers. Problem. Now, I've seen a couple of state of videos and a couple of season reviews before this. Most notably was Rax's video that he put out a couple days ago. He said something that I agreed with wholeheartedly that was also a problem. He likes it, I don't. The earliest vampiric power you got was Hemo. And Hemo made your grind in the season so much better. It made builds that shouldn't have been viable. Now, I agree with that to an extent. Here's the problem, though. You shouldn't need a seasonal-only build to make your build good. If your build is not good, your build is not good. Now, here's something that I find funny. Why am I mentioning this? Vampiric powers carried a lot of people. Because think about it. Everybody had access to Unstoppable now. Relatively short cooldown. Everybody had access to guaranteed overpowers now. Everybody had access to guaranteed healing now. Because of the way the vampiric powers worked. You got access to guaranteed tools where most kits didn't have that. Because Sorceress doesn't naturally have any overpower in her kit. Right? Necromancer has Blood Mist, which is the only skill in their entire tree that gives you crowd control immunity or damage immunity. Okay? These are examples to me of where people talk about the vampiric powers were so fun, the minions not fun. I agree with you on that. Don't get me wrong. I think the new season sucks. I think it is something different. I don't think it's well done. As the grind for the pet is ridiculous. The value that the pet offers isn't that much. I do appreciate that they tied a lot of the currency for it is in your inventory tab here, as opposed to actually taking up room here, although you still do have the vault sigils that take up room in your consumables tab. The little pet's not great. It's not customizable. It doesn't really do much. It doesn't really scale with you that well. If you're overpowered in the endgame, it's not going to be overpowered in the endgame with you. So, the new fake butcher boss that's in the vaults kind of sucks. People say, oh, it slows us down. Well, yeah, it's supposed to slow you down. They're traps. You're doing a trap-based dungeon. It's supposed to slow you down. You don't just run into a trap. That's how you get hit by the trap and injured by the trap. If you say, I don't like it, fine. Not arguing that. Here's the major problem that I have with the community right now. The community is non-stop screaming about the season sucks. I'll give you that. I have one problem with that, and I have one problem with balance. So let's start with this. I play Eternal Realm because I like the base version of the game. If you go, I don't like the base version of the game, that's why I play Season. When you have a bad season, like what we have, you're not going to like the game. Here's my thing, though. If you don't like the base version of the game, why are you playing the season? Say, hey, this game's not for me. I'm gonna go play something else. You say, well, I spent money on this. I don't want it to go to waste. Okay, but if you don't like the game in its base form, don't play it. I like the game in its base form. That's why I play Eternal Realm. Here's a problem I see. People screaming about, oh my god, they nerfed our builds. They didn't nerf your builds. People are screaming in chat. Every time I open up chat and I scroll up, there's an argument that happens at least once a stream that is about the streamers ruined the game because they broke it. No, they didn't. Oh my god, it's not fun to play. My build is nerfed because they fixed a bug on ball lightning, so ball lightning now doesn't do 10 million damage because of a bug on it. Tybalt's Will combo points with Rogue is bugged. We're gonna fix that. Oh my god, my Rogue build is nerfed. No, they fixed a bug. If it's not intended to be that way, it's not a nerf. Same thing if you look at Barbarian, where they had the Hoda, where it was bugged, where you got both upgrades. I would like that to be a thing. If they want to introduce that, that's fine. But at the end of the day, it's fixing a bug. How much code is in the game where if a bug is causing a problem, you might say, well, it's fun, it's not hurting anybody. You don't know that because you don't work on the game, you don't work on the back end of the game. Well, that's not my job to manage. Fine, but it's a bug. If you want them to fix bugs, let them fix bugs. Don't pick and choose what bugs you want them to fix. Similar argument. Very few builds actually got nerfed. One of the few builds that did get nerfed, I think it's in here somewhere, copy of it, is Poison Shred. Poison Shred, to me, this is going to be like a personal bone to pick. Not that one. It's a Poison Shred. Oh, I got a copy of it in here. Here we go. Okay, Poison Shred. This aspect got nerfed. Okay? While dashing, Shred seeks out nearby poison enemies and deals X amount increased damage to them. And the way it used to work is it used to be that it would instantly deal that poison damage to them. And it was a much larger amount of poison damage. Okay? Okay. That is definitely a nerf. Because now, instead of dealing a large chunk of poison damage at once, now you're just doing bonus shred damage to them. And if you build for poison, that's a nerf because you're not necessarily building as crit. I would know I have a poison build. And I don't use poison shred. I tried it, I didn't like it. But I also didn't like it before this. Here's the problem. I've never seen so many people complain about fucking poison shred in my goddamn life. With all of my hours playing on this game, I have seen two people at a world boss, PvP area, out in the world, doesn't matter, 2 people play Poison Shred. 2! And I've seen, honest to God, 40 people, 40, between Reddit and Game Chat, squawking about how Poison Shred's bad. If y'all love Poison Shred so much, where the fuck were y'all? And it's like every niche build that got touched, they look and say, oh my god, oh it's nerfed, oh it's nerfed, oh it's nerfed. 2 builds in the game got touched in my opinion, which was Poison Shred. Well, I don't play Rogue. Let me not come into Rogue, because I know they nerfed Twisting Blades a little bit. But of the 4 classes I do play, Ball Lightning got a bug fixed, nothing else on Sorceress got a nerf. I feel that's important to mention. Ball Lightning got a bug fix. And in fact, they buffed a majority of the Paragon that was here. Some of these Paragon nodes, like Searing Heat got a buff. I don't think it's this one. Is it this one? Burning Instinct got a buff. The new Unique is very fun. Very well to play. They buffed up Meteor and Fireball related aspects as well. They buffed up Chain Lightning, or not Chain Lightning, Lightning Spear. So now it's a more reliable source of vulnerability. I like that. Sorceress didn't really get touched. All the Ball Lightning people are screaming, our damage is gone, our damage is gone. but your damage was only there because of a bug and because of the vampiric powers. And I think that's a problem that you have, because it's very difficult to tell if something was a good or a bad build. Now, Overpower got nerfed, it's Barbarian's fault. Let me tell you something. I played all of the Barbarians today. I played it on stream. Go watch if you want to see. Let's be clear. Barbarian has not been nerfed. They made a minor, I'll call it a lateral. I'm not going to call it a nerf. I'll call it a lateral. And there's more than enough to go around in terms of what I think of Barbarian. I think Barbarian is fantastically strong. It is still by far the best class in the game right now. Better than Rogue. Now, why am I mentioning this? Okay. First off, the new basic support is fantastic. These Pain Gorger gauntlets and the new one where you get bonus damage to basic skills if you're above 50%. If you want to make something like Stormclaw or Frenzy focused build or Bone Splinter, Bone Spirit on Necromancer, which I'll get to that in a minute, these things are fantastic. On a low roll, this thing shreds. Now, they did nerf Red Ring of Fear, and they did nerf some of the damage support that you had before, like the Weapon Mastery one, which now has a timer on it. They put a timer on Expected. They put a timer on a lot of these things. So you have to use them in combat. Greetings. You can't stack them up.
Hello.
You can't stack them up ahead of a boss fight, walk into a boss, one-shot it. You have to walk into a boss fight, press 2 or 3 buttons, and then one-shot it. Slight lateral. I'm fine with that. Again, you say Overpowered is nerfed. Really? Really, you say Overpowered got nerfed because you still have the Weapon Master, or you still have this one right here, where swapping weapons gives you a guaranteed Overpower. You still have Red Ring of Fury for a guaranteed crit. If you have Banished Lord Talisman, you have another guaranteed one. You still have Bonebreaker, Decimate, and I forget what the other one is in the Paragon tree alone, that all give you guaranteed overpowers. Yeah, Barbarian is still as fine as ever. I don't know why people are complaining. And in fact, I would like to mention that Barbarian actually got buffed even more because... Where's Marshall? I know Marshall's here somewhere. Hold on. Marshall got reworked into a massive buff. So Marshall used to be, it reduces the cooldown of your shouts when you use one. But they're trying to take power away from multi-shout. Now, instead of let's spam 3 shouts at once and have an 8-second window where we just nuke everything on the screen, now they've made it more continuous. Because Marshall now reduces all other cooldowns. That includes ultimates, by the way, because you know most cooldown reduction sets except ultimates. Except ultimates. No. Including ultimates. Pop a shout, 4-second cooldown reduction. And that is huge on some builds, like the build that I am running, which does not use resource outside a kick. Similarly, another rework that they did, by the way, I haven't tested the bleed rework. The upheaval one is good. I would say upheaval Red Ring of Fever is kind of dead now, but that's another thing that they buffed that I want to mention. Go to resource. Echoing Fury. So this is 6 to 10 is the roll range on it. However, you said, well, they nerfed it. I don't think they did. So before, you earned 4 Fury per second per shout. So the strategy was pop 3 shouts, 12 Fury per second for 8 seconds. Okay. Now it's 10 Fury per second while any shout is active. So for 8 seconds, you get 10 Fury per second. That's 80 Fury over the duration of 1 shout. Versus before, you got 12 Fury with 3 shouts active over 8 seconds. Now you can stagger them. If you still run 3 shouts, now you can still run. You go shout, have that Fury generation. Shout, have that Fury generation. Shout, have that Fury generation. And by doing that, you are reducing the cooldown of another skill by 4 seconds each time you do that. I like that style of play more. Barbarian also got some significant buffs into base kit. that I want to mention. The main one that everybody's talking about is Charge, because Charge just does ridiculous damage now. That to me is not the buff. Sure, you give it a ludicrous damage buff. It's nice. Don't get me wrong. Power Charge is so much better now, because now charging a boss takes your cooldown down by 6 seconds. And with Marshall there's another way you can cheese that out. There's a slight buff to leap, damage-wise, slight buff. Not anything major. I think it's okay. They tried to buff the key passives, except Unbridled. I have mixed results. Walking Arsenal, I covered this in another video. Walking Arsenal needed the Talrasha treatment, right? So, if you look at what Talrasha says, whenever you deal a elemental type that gives you the bonus, it refreshes all of your bonuses. That would have been the simplest solution to fixing Walking Arsenal. Rather than giving it a stronger damage buff, rather than giving it the attack speed buff. The best benefit would just simply be, you do damage with one, it refreshes it for all of them. Then Walking Arsenal's a bit better. But right now, Walking Arsenal's not really great, because now it's 30% increased damage, or is it 12% increased damage? Because it's not per type. So, I think 30% increased damage? That's not really great. You have to build heavily into Walking Arsenal for it to be good. The bleed one to me is still shit. I had a Whirlwind Barb that was using this, and I did not like it. And it mostly just came down to the fact that bleeding explosion, that damage over time number, is just not strong enough. Even though that crit chance got buffed up. I think the Berserking one is definitely nice, because they doubled the damage. Now it's, oh, you're Berserking? Great, double damage. I like that. I think the problem that the Berserking build has overall, though, what they could have done, instead of buffing that, which would have been nice, make it that skill, add a lucky hit. Skills that do not have a Berserking trigger have a 10% chance to trigger Berserking. Something like that. There should have been an extra Berserking thing triggered, rather than forcing me to run 35 million fucking ways to trigger Berserking. But Barbarian's still as strong as ever. I don't know why people are screeching and hollering about, oh my god, Barbarian's been nerfed, No. I don't think a single Barbarian build has been realistically nerfed. If you're saying that, oh my, well, they killed Overpower. No, you just have to build into it now. You can't luck your way into Overpower damage anymore, which I'm fine with. You could say, well, they took the bugs out. Again, that's not a bad thing. One thing I will mention, okay, Bone Spear, Bone Spirit. There is now a debate as to which one of those is good, because Bone Spirit got a massive new aspect and buffed to 2 older aspects. Bone Spirit is now insane. I know Macro Boy covered a video about how you can use Bone Spirit as a generator. That is a fun new playstyle. It's a good damage skill. Finally, we have more that we're working our way up to. I like that. I think a lot of people are complaining too much about some of the things. I haven't tested the unique chest that's for Bloodlance. I want to get my hands on that. I think that's going to be insane. The thing I want to mention, where is it? The Bone Spirit one. It's an all-offensive one, right? One of these. Oh, here we go. Okay. Just raw increased crit chance on Bone Spirit. That's nice. Maximum essence increase for each enemy it hits, which helps get more out. This is so much better than the old version of it. Plus the new aspect where it casts out the Bone Shatter. The changes that they made to the golems is kind of meh. I don't really like the change where it like targets a different enemy than the one that you commanded to attack, but the changes that they made on the golems are kind of fine. I like the changes that they did to Bone Prison to make Bone Prison more viable. I like that there is now a Shadow Iron Maiden aspect. That is nice. It helped turn your curses into more. They buffed Iron Maiden in the first place, which is kind of nice. They didn't really touch the big or what is this? Whatever the fuck this is. Decompose. This one to me is really weird. That the bonus that they had tied to that is really, like, weird, in my opinion. I don't think it was necessary, but okay. The change on Blood Mist, where instead of the Fortify, you got the crit chance, that's okay. That is a nice quality of life buff, given the fact that, you know, a majority of the time, Blood Mist is being ran in certain builds because it's your only source of crowd control immunity, or crowd control resistance, right? Or damage reduction. That making it more viable in other builds besides just Infinimist and Bone and Blood is nice. A lot of people are complaining about the rework that they did with Corpse Explosion. So what they did is they took some damage from Blighted Corpse Explosion away and put it into base. They also nerfed the lucky hit chance. I'm fine with that. The corpse build was kind of busted. Still is. But, in my opinion, realistically, you could just add Enhanced Corpse Explosion into a base and give that something else. But, come on. Go. Good boy. I'm fine with how that works. Okay? We've already talked about Bone Spirit. They gave it raw base damage because they bumped it up from 3% to 4%. And then they massively buffed Dreadful by making it 30% instead of a flat 30, which is a huge gain, in my opinion. So this is now a viable build. Now, I have one problem. One problem. They nerfed my Summon Mancer in a very significant way. So nobody runs Inspiring Leader, nobody runs Kalen's Edict, because they kind of suck. Please, somebody tell me why the fuck y'all decided... Wait, where is it? That's hulking. It's not that. It's not that. Is it this one? Why they nerfed Cult Leader. So instead of, hey, if you run 3 summons, you get 45% damage bonus to your minions. That's fine. That's good. I like that. Ding. Why the fuck did you change it? So I did the math on this, because the most common thing you can do, right? You buy the attack speed nodes around. You'd have to run Inspiring Leader, Kalen's Edict, and the legendary aspect of Frenzied Death. All of those bonuses together at their maximum value, you will get a grand whopping 90% attack speed. 90% attack speed means you get a 40% damage buff, as opposed to a 45% damage buff. They really want you to play Kalen's Edict instead of fucking reworking it. So they nerfed Cult Leader to go along with that. I took Cult Leader out of my minion build. Yeah, I had a little loss of damage, but the points that I freed up, I was able to move around, and I got better. So I'm not worried. I don't know why they shadow nerfed that. Okay, sure game. But, again, it's not a major build. Look at what got nerfed. Again, bug fix on Sorceress, nothing else got nerfed. Barbarian, little bit of a nerf to overpower, maybe a little bit of a nerf to upheaval. Everything there is still pretty good. Yeah, they bug fix on Hoda, that's not a nerf. Everything there is still really strong. Necromancer, what'd they nerf? They nerfed Minion. They didn't really nerf anything else. Say, oh, well, they nerfed Blood Build because they nerfed Overpower. No, they didn't. Build Overpower. Take Bloodbath. Run the one where you get more overpower damage when you're healthy. With blood skills. Now, Druid. Druid is very, very healthy right now. I like the buffs that Druid has. Because again, the only overpower you're going to have is like Earth Werebear, and you're building for that. It's fine. No problem. If we ignore the people ranting and raving about Poison Shred, I honestly think they're going to try and kill the game again, like they did in Season 1. It's boring. It's not boring. There's plenty to do. Plenty of content to be had here. You might not like it. That's your choice. So these new gloves are fucking absurd. These new gloves are insane. I like Lightning Storm. This is the shit we need more of. We see a build that's underperforming. We give it a unique or a legendary to buff it up. Because I had to give up something that I really wanted to keep my Blood Howl healed. I had to give that up. If you can force players to do that more often, that will benefit the game as a whole to make you have tough choices of what you want. The new armor one with disobedience is absurd because people are talking about how, oh, well, it's a substitute to disobedience. Hell no, it's not. You put that bitch on with disobedience. I'm sitting here on this druid. I can rock 14, 15k armor. On my barbarians, I can rock 17, 18k. Some of the changes that they made are also pretty good. They didn't really do too much of a change. I feel like Storm Strike is bugged where I'm not getting the damage reduction, but I'm okay with that. Everything is still fine here. Everything is still fine here. I mean, they tried to buff Ravens a little bit. I don't think they really succeeded, but okay. They gave Rabies a base buff where they increased enhanced rabies from 30 to 60. That's insane. I like that. I do, however, think that the legendary that goes with it sucks ass. I think the legendary is trash. I'm not running it because it's just not strong enough. They buffed Lacerate. You're still not running Lacerate. It's still not strong enough to see play. Like, they buffed the amount of healing you get, and they buffed, like, they buffed the number of dashes you got. They almost doubled it because it went from 7 to 13. That's actually a nerf, but, hey, they dropped the cooldown. Okay, sure. I mean, kind of meh, to be honest. One thing that I think is really good is Thick Hide is now insanely good. Thick Hide is absurd. Because it's, you fortify, you put the 3 points in, 30% fortify, base, without any fortify generation, anytime you get crowd controlled. So if you are running a no Earth and Bulwark build, that is a huge buff. Nothing really got majorly changed on Paragon that's worth noting. The other one that they changed is the Spirit Boons. I do want to cover some things in the Spirit Boons department, because nothing there really got touched. They tried to buff up the Thorns one. You're not running Razor Plate Druid. I don't care. They tried to buff up Gift of the Stag. You're still not running that, because Wariness is just better. And then I look at this, right? The big one is you kind of have to, unless you absolutely need that 14% maximum life, there's no reason not to choose Avian Wrath for the 30% crit. That is a huge, huge bonus right there. Balance-wise, they got it right. Balance-wise, good job. Season, damn. Season go bad. So balance is good. Quality of life is good. The community feedback is kind of meh, because the community won't shut the fuck up. Because the power sucks. The season sucks. And probably the biggest thing... What the hell was that? There is no gauntlet. Now, I understand why they're doing that. A lot of people said... The reason that they gave, by the way, is completely stupid. Let's talk about that for a second. Because the reason is... Well, we don't want people to try the gauntlet unless they're level 100 and fully kitted out. Literally, that's what everybody does on every other season or ladder. It gives people an incentive to grind as quickly as possible to go be that first person on the leaderboard. right? Even if it doesn't last, you can screenshot it like, hey, first one on the board. I think that's a stupid reason. However, if there was another reason that I think there is, very good. So, if you look at what they did with Abattoir of Zir, right? It's not going to show up here, because it was right there. I wish Abattoir of Zir came over, by the way, base game. I think that would have been nice to have in Eternal Realm, rather than seasonal. But, it is what it is. What they did is they said, hey, we're going to introduce this at the halfway point of the season to get you to either come back or to keep you here. And you did a very good job keeping people until about the first or second week of January. Same thing with the Duriel drop rates that were buffed until January 8th. Those two things, between the Duriel drop rates and Abattoir Azir, they did a fantastic job. An absolute fantastic job of getting people to play. To play in season. If that's your excuse as to why we don't have the gauntlet, I'm okay with that. If your excuse is, hey, we're introducing it in the middle of the season to give people time to get comfortable with the current season and then have a reason to stick around in the season, I would like that. I would like if they introduced 2 or 3 major things to a season, spread them out over the course of the season. Keep the players invested rather than just grind at the start, disappear. Or say, I don't like this, disappear. I think when the Gauntlet comes out, people are going to come back, oh my god, oh this is so good, especially because they're going to have a balance patch with it. But in my opinion, I think that the health of the game right now is good if the community stops arguing. Play it out more, see what you can get.